Welcome to the Bible Forum. It is Sunday night, July 29. It's the end of the month, isn't it? Last Sunday in the month. It's a little bit after 8 o'clock. We've got a little later start than I would like, in part because of sound problems. I have yet to figure out why the technology does what it does, but periodically it just decides what it wants to do. And tonight was one of those nights. I cannot hear in the recordings that I put out any sound at all, but they tell me in the chat room that they can hear me still. So I'm assuming everybody else can as well. And maybe before it's over, it'll all work out. Want to welcome you to the Bible Forum. We are here every Sunday evening. Been here every Sunday evening since January, the first Sunday in January in the year 2000. And every Sunday night from 8, used to be 11, now it's 10. We spend these 2 hours looking at life from a biblical perspective. We look at the news, we look at social events and other kinds of things, and all of it comes through that biblical lens. We're trying to solve problems, all the problems of the world, in 2 hours or less. We invite you to be part of it. We'd love for you to be here live. There's a lot of different ways you can watch. You can do it the way you're doing it now, which may be off of our website, thebibleforum.net. It might be off of the Facebook page, which is supposed to be running right now. That's the assumption. And again, I never know until the end of the show when I put it up and I say, oh, look at this, I wonder what's going on. And there it is. And so it's something that I pretty much always take by faith. It says it's doing it, so I guess it's doing it. We'll see at the end of it all. But it also shows up on our YouTube page, usually by Monday, and you can gather all of this stuff anywhere you want. We want you to ask your questions. We're trying to work through the process of having phone calls. We tested it last week. It works. I didn't have time this week to work through the process of getting a phone. I want to get a track phone that I don't have to pay for every month, whether I use it or not. And that takes a minute or two of effort. We've got to, deal with the SIM card and figure out whether it's going to work, and then get the phone put together and all that stuff. Hopefully this week that will happen. I have ordered the SIM card. It's supposed to be here by Wednesday, and we'll see if it works in my phone. If it doesn't, then we'll have to work through some other thing. Well, we're going to get that done, and then we'll be able to take your calls. We'd love for you to be a participant here, both in the way you ask the questions and get answers, hopefully, and also as you participate financially. If God lays it on your heart, you want to give a buck or two, we would love to have that. You can go to our website and click the PayPal button and do it that way. Many folks do. Or you can write a check, make it out to Alternatives, send me an email, I'll tell you where to send it. But everything is nonprofit. It's tax exempt, as they say. There have been a lot of highly charged emotional things gone through our world this week, and we'll talk about most of it, I think. Did you see the economic numbers this week? Apparently whatever President Trump is doing relative to finances is working. Of course, you kind of knew it would, didn't you? The guy's a multi-billionaire. He knows how to make money. My wonderment is the ability that he has had to get the things done that he knows needs to be done in order for this to happen. But the economy grew this last quarter by a rate of 4.1%. Now, nobody expects it to continue going up and up and up. It would be nice if it stayed there, but it may dip back down again. They're projecting a high 3% for the year. So what does it mean? Well, I think it means that our president knows how to make money. I also think it means the rest of the world will take note, or they will start to lose money. The enemies of our way of life don't like any of this. Listen to them. Read them online and in paper and wherever. To them, this is all unfair. And if it's unfair, that's unjust. I have a message for liberals. Fairness is the enemy of justice. You can have one or you can have the other. Rarely do you get them both. But if all you want is fairness, you are going to penalize the most important segment of our society, the producers. We don't want to do that. Liberals do. Socialists do. Not one liberal has ever deliberately impoverished themselves in order to make certain their neighbor, their next door neighbor, had enough. In this ungodly world, the reality is you have to work if you want to eat. I know people can't work. We've got programs for that. God has ordained church. We've abandoned church. We've changed church. We've thrown church down the dump. But that's God's program. You want the government to do it, and the government will. But the reality is you need to look to yourself, or you won't have anything to share. You give it all away and you'll be just like them. And if you're not stronger than your sworn enemy, you will die. I know that's crass. It's awful. It's terrible. It's life, sweetheart. That's how the world of people works. It's the result of sin in the system. And you can't change it. I didn't put it there. I simply must account for it if I'm to succeed. Anything else would be lunacy, making no sense. And the liberal, the socialist, and all the rest of them, they make no sense. And their systems don't work. Every time they've been tried, they've been dismal failures. One of the most dominant, I guess now two dominant, is Russia and China. And both of them have come around to a form of capitalism. Otherwise, they go down in flames. Much this week of Islam has made the news, and much of Islam makes no sense to most of us. And that's partly because Islam is a man-inspired religious expression. I know they say that Muhammad got messages from God, Allah, in a cave. The messages he received, history tells us, the writings of Muslims tell us, the messages he received were done in an altered state of consciousness, something that frightened him beyond mention. He was scared of what was going on. He thought he was being accosted by a demon. This week, Islamists, called worshippers, attacked Israeli police as Friday prayers were ending there on the Temple Mount in Jerusalem. What were they upset about? They were upset about something that happened a year ago, this past Friday. Friday was the anniversary of their parade and riot. This from peace-loving Islamists. Seems they were remembering how Israeli police installed metal detectors at the entrances to the Temple Mount in 2017. Now, you know they did that because they're just nasty Israelis, nasty Jews. They just don't like the Muslims and they're trying to... No, they did it because two Israeli police officers were gunned down by these so-called worshippers. Worshippers who had secreted their weapons hiding them in that mosque. Stones and fireworks were thrown at police officers, a police statement said. Police entered the site and began evacuating the Temple Mount compound. What are you worshiping if you seek to murder people for something they did to protect themselves from you? What kind of thinking is that? A millionaire Democrat congressional candidate in Pennsylvania wants to tax parents who have more than 2 children. If you're a parent with more than 2 children, he calls you an irresponsible breeder. And should you have a 3rd child, he wants to tax you for it. The tax is being called the Privilege of Irresponsible Breeding tax. And his name is Scott Wallace. And he's a population control zealot who has donated over $7 million to population control groups. Who are those people that support him? Well, Planned Parenthood. Surprise, surprise. The National Organization of Women. Surprise, surprise. Have you paid any attention to the culture war that rages? Jonathan Martin has written a book warning us entitled The Culture War. In it, he details just how human beings are increasingly becoming commodities, and specifically how children are becoming a product people feel they have a right to, rather than the little people we have serious obligations toward. Obligations that should include, if at all possible, a mother and a father. His concern is that reproductive technology has resulted in children being created in petri dishes by physicians, using labs to produce the desired human product for paying customers who may or may not be aware of the appalling mortality rate of children created in this fashion. A grim side effect of outsourcing the natural process of reproduction to clinicians. I have a suggestion. I say let's pay off the national debt. What do you think? Well, the experts say it can't be done. But consider this. The founder of the Democrat Party, it's not a Democratic Party, nothing democratic about it, it's the Democrat Party, was Andrew Jackson. And he did just that. He was the only president to completely pay off the national debt. He stated on December 5th, 1836, quote, "The experience of other nations admonishes us to hasten the extinguishment of public debt. An improvident expenditure of money is the parent of prolificacy." I know we don't use that word a lot, do we? The dictionary defines prolificacy as a reckless extravagance or wastefulness in the use of resources. It also defines licentious or dissolute behavior. They are cousins, brothers of the same womb. No people, Jackson said, can hope to perpetuate their liberties who long acquiesce to a policy which taxes them for objects not necessary to the legitimate and real wants, needs of their government. This is what circulated through our world this week that you may not have seen. But all of these pieces that you have seen and all these other little things weave together and become the fabric of our life and we get to be defined by them. Pay attention. People are working to move you over here and then identify you as the problem. When we come back, I want to talk to you a little bit about legal insanity. You ever hear about legal insanity? We've got some. Stay tuned.